Hello everyone, we've got a short build video for you today. It's a shorter one because we've already released this build. We did it a few weeks ago, and it's a build that I made for Countdown that works very well. We've been doing a lot of Countdown recently, and a lot of you asked for the build, and that's what I was using because it looked really good, and it is. So we released that a few weeks ago. But with Season 10 coming out, I wanted to put together an ongoing directive build, which is also on the channel, and we used a Ridge Raid's Pride chest piece for that. And when I used that and how good that was on the ongoing directive build, we did Countdown in stream recently, and it got me thinking about how much better that Ridge Raid Pride would make that SMG support build we released all those weeks ago. So we've adapted the build, and that's what it is. It was an SMG support build to use in Countdown that's buffing your team. It's got things on the build to make hunters easier for your team, and you do a ton of damage. It's like a max damage SMG build. It was very good. But I've adapted that with the Ridge Raid's Pride chest piece. I've changed a few other things around on it. So I wanted to re-release that video today with the updated changes because I know a lot of people are using this and you enjoy it. So that's today's video. We're going to quickly go over the build in a few moments. Do please hit like and share on the video to support it. Subscribe if you're new here today. And if you don't know about us, we have a fantastic gaming community that I always shout out. So over 25,000 members now. If you need people to play Countdown with, help with raids, also come and join us at the end of today's video. It's linked at the top of the video description. So we are just going to get straight into the build. I'd normally have some like gameplay clips for you, but I wasn't able to prepare them in time, and this is just an updated build video. We've already released this build just a few weeks ago where there's some clips and that, and you've all seen it on stream as well if you've been watching. Just take my word for it, it works very well. It's great for your team, and this is what it looks like now. So we've still got the gunner specialization. I was debating this. Now the gunner specialization is kind of being used for the rate of fire. You can also get the foam grenade, as you can see here, which is more status if you need it, but I never used that, and I was looking at other specializations that could make this better. I didn't really decide on stream the other night, so we just kept with the gunner, but there might be a better specialization for you. The rate of fire definitely helps, and the armor on kill kind of helps, but we have no armor on the build, so it doesn't help all that much. We still got the grudge on the build, and the reason for this is for the perfect talent. The rolls are SMG damage, crit chance, and damage target out of cover, which is what you want, but the talent is perfect vindictive, where killing an enemy with a status effect applied grants you and all allies within 20 meters 18% critical hit chance and 18% critical hit damage for 20 seconds. This is such a good talent, and on the build before we didn't have the Ridge Raid Pride chest piece, so we were heavily reliant on our skills to get that status effect or teammates to get the status effect on enemies to get that buff. But now with the new updated build, you're constantly putting enemies on a status, which means you're constantly proccing this, which is really good. The secondary is the Scorpio for obvious reasons. It's such an OP shotgun, great for hunters on Countdown as well to get them stuck. And I can't think of anything better to put there, to be honest with you. The sidearm doesn't matter. So the build has changed a little bit. So we've still got the Sokolov mask with weapon damage, critical hit damage, status effects, and a critical hit damage mod. You can see, if you did see the other build a few weeks ago, we've knocked a Sokolov piece off this build, though we did used to have 3. We've now only got 2. So we're only proccing the 10% SMG damage, 15% critical hit damage, and we've lost the 10% critical hit chance. But I don't think that's too much of a loss in all honesty. The second Sokolov piece is still the gloves, which is the firm handshake gloves. They're the name Sokolov gloves. They come with the 15% status effects, and it's got weapon damage and crit damage on them. We've still got the golden backpack, the anarchist cookbook with perfectly wicked, with weapon damage, status effect, crit damage mod, and with perfectly wicked you're going to be applying a status effect, and you'll be increasing your total weapon damage by 18% for 27 seconds when you do that. You're constantly applying status effects, so this works very well. Vigilance is another good option, but obviously you lose the buff when you take damage, so I went with this. And with Golan as well, you get 10% status effects, which works on the build very nicely. The chest piece, as we've already said, is the Ridge Raid's Pride chest piece. It's got weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage, and a critical hit damage mod, and we're using that bleeding edge talent. Shooting enemies within 15 meters applies bleed to the target, so you're constantly putting enemies on status with this SMG build, whereas before I didn't have this and had to use my skills or whatnot. This is very good. It's what I used on my ongoing directive build to make the bleed always proc, and it just makes sense to go on this build as well. You're constantly getting wicked proc as well for the extra weapon damage, and you're then getting those kills on status affected enemies to give your team a buff as well as yourself with the crit chance and crit damage with the grudge. So such a good chest piece. I don't really care about the repair strength per number of bleeding enemies, but you get that as well. The other two pieces on the build, so the Sokolov piece I took out was my Sokolov holster. We replaced that with a Grupo holster. So although we lost the 10% critical hit chance, I wanted to keep Grupo on the build for the 15% critical hit damage. So we brought this holster in with weapon damage, critical hit damage, and status effects. And on the Fox's Prayer knee pads, we still used this on the build prior, but now we've changed the status effect roll to crit hit damage. I don't think, and I didn't really notice too much of a difference by losing some status effects on the build, and having the extra damage made sense. I'm still killing the enemies before the status runs out, so we did that. And we're also getting rifle damage for having an overload on the piece, but that's wasted because we're not using a rifle. But the damage target out of cover makes sense for that. So before, the skills we were using was a Banshee Pulse and a Blinder Firefly. I'm still using that on Countdown. Now that we're getting the bleed on the enemy though with the Ridge Race Pride, you can knock one of these off if you want to revive a hive on, just in case you do go down. It is quite handy. And the stats of the build now look like this. So the critical hit chance is 48.7%. Some people would want that higher, but in Countdown, this is why again I didn't mind losing the 10% critical hit chance from the Sokolov piece, because most of the time someone's running a Coyote mask, so they're going to be buffing it anyway, and every time you get a kill you're going to be buffing it by 18% anyway yourself, so it doesn't make sense capping the critical hit chance at all with this build. And the critical hit damage is 101.8%, which is hitting very, very hard. And that does bring us to the end of this video. I can't recommend this build enough, by the way. It truly is my go-to build for when I play Countdown now. It even works on solo Countdown. It's a good solo Countdown build as well for normal. I'm getting good success with it there. It's just really good. The buffs are amazing. The team are going to thank you for it. And if you're playing matchmaking on Countdown as well, where, you know, it's not guaranteed that the team's going to have something to manage the hunters, this build does that. You can put a status effect on the hunters to make sure they're taken down very, very quickly and easily. So such a good build. Highly recommend it. If it improves again in the future, I will re-release it again. I can't see anything right now where I would improve it, but I do highly recommend the build. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you did make the build a few weeks ago, how are you enjoying it? And how would you make this build if there's any changes you do? Let me know down below. I'm going to end this video now though. Don't forget to like and share to support the video. Subscribe if you're new here. Most importantly, come and check our community. It's linked at the top of the video description. Until next time, thank you for watching. Stay safe. Peace out.